building on time? I've been wanting to try to build something for speed for a long time. Let's learn how to build Witherstorm.
Round 1.
I want my Witherstorm to look huge and scary, so I do not make a neat little body. I pile up obsidian and coal blocks together and shape them like a rough upside-down pyramid. I keep the bottom part tighter and the upper part wider, because that shape makes the creature feel heavy above and dangerous below, almost like a storm cloud made of stone. I mix obsidian with coal because both are dark, but they do not look exactly the same. Obsidian has a harder, shiny look, and coal looks more flat, so the mixed texture makes the body less boring. I also do not keep every side perfectly smooth. A monster like Witherstorm should look uneven and broken, not clean like a house wall. When the big body is done, I place 3 wither skeleton skulls on top. Those skulls are perfect because the shape is already scary and narrow, so I do not have to build the heads from scratch. The 3 heads make the top feel wider and more powerful, and now my Witherstorm looks like a dark floating boss monster. Phew! I barely made it on time! Great! My Witherstorm is ready!
What? Hello?
Hey, Banana Kid! Look! I built it in just 1 minute! Do you like?
Yay!
Really? I am very glad that you like my makeshift construction. Maybe then you can try to build it yourself in just 10 minutes?
Ta-da!
They ran to the place. This is where your building will be. Are you ready?
Yay!
Then go ahead.
Round 2.
I am watching Banana Kid build his Witherstorm now, and he starts with the lower body first. He uses coal blocks and shapes them into an upside-down cone, but not a smooth round one. He makes it blocky and angular, which actually works better for a monster like this. Sharp edges make the body look more aggressive. He starts narrow at the bottom and gets wider as he goes up. That shape is a smart design choice because it makes the creature feel like it is hanging over the ground with a huge mass above. In visual design, a wide top and tight bottom can make something feel unstable and scary, and that is perfect for a storm monster. Coal blocks are a strong pick here too. They are dark, heavy-looking, and simple, so the body reads clearly from far away. I tell Banana this lower half already looks like a giant black tornado made of blocks, and he just makes a happy little sound and keeps stacking more coal on top. Now, Banana moves higher and starts building the middle head. He keeps using coal blocks for the main shape, which is smart because the head needs to match the body and feel like one creature. He gives the face a wide front and leaves room for the mouth area. Then he adds purple concrete, which makes the face look much more alive. Purple is a great color here because Witherstorm always feels dark and magical, and bright purple against black creates strong contrast. After that, he places quartz slabs for the teeth. Slabs are better than full quartz blocks because teeth should look thinner and sharper. Bright white teeth also help the mouth stand out clearly, so the face is easier to read from a distance. I think he wants the middle head to be the main focus, so he makes it a little more clear and centered than the rest. It is a good trick. On monsters with many heads, the center face often helps guide the whole design. After the center head looks right, Banana goes over to the right side and starts the second head by the same idea. He builds it from coal blocks too, keeping the shape close to the middle one so the whole statue stays consistent. Matching side heads is important because if one head is too big or too small, the creature starts looking silly in the wrong way. He adds purple concrete again for the glowing face detail and puts in more quartz slab teeth. I like that he does not make the side head exactly the same angle as the middle one. A small difference in direction makes the build feel more alive, almost like each head is looking at something else. That is a very useful creature building trick. Perfect symmetry can look clean, but tiny changes in pose make a monster feel more natural. I ask Banana if this head is going to bite me first, and he just wiggles a little and keeps building. The right side now balances the middle very nicely. Then, Banana goes to the left side and builds the third head. Again, he uses coal blocks for the main shape, purple concrete for that dark, magical face detail, and quartz slabs for the teeth. I am glad he keeps the same materials because repeating the same block palette is what makes the whole creature feel connected. If he suddenly used stone or wool here, the left head would look like it came from a different build. The 3-head layout is one of the most important things for Witherstorm because that wide top silhouette is what makes the monster easy to recognize. A single head would not feel special enough, and 2 would look unbalanced. 3 gives a clear center and 2 side points, which is a very strong shape. He checks the spacing carefully too. The heads need enough room between them to stand apart, but not so much that they float away from the body. Banana is actually being very precise today, and the top of the monster is starting to look really intimidating. With the heads done, Banana walks behind the build and starts shaping the back. He adds more coal blocks to make the spine and upper back stick out a little. That is a really good idea because a flat back would make the whole build feel like a wall with faces. By making the back bulge upward, he gives the monster more volume and a stronger center of mass. In design, depth matters a lot. Even if the front looks good, the statue can still feel thin if the back has no shape. He builds the upper back a bit heavier than the lower back, which helps the wide head area connect better to the body below. I tell Banana that now the monster looks like it has a real dark shell instead of just a front side, and he makes a proud little sound. This extra back shape also helps the heads feel more supported. It is like a big spine line carrying all that scary mass on top. Now Banana starts one of the upper arms on the right side. He uses coal blocks again and points the arm up into the air. I think that is a great pose for a wither storm because raised limbs make the monster look active, like it is reaching, grabbing, or controlling the sky. If both arms stayed low, the build would feel much calmer, and calm is not the right feeling here. He keeps the arm thick enough near the body so it looks attached properly, then lets it rise in a blocky line. A limb on a big statue needs a strong base at the shoulder area. If the arm starts too thin, it looks like it will snap off. The upward direction also helps the silhouette. Tall monsters look even more dramatic when one part points higher than the heads. I tell Banana this arm looks like the creature is casting a spell, and honestly, that fits the purple face details really well. He seems happy with that idea and keeps refining the angle. After the right arm is up, Banana goes to the left and builds the second upper arm the same way. He keeps it made of coal blocks and points it upward too, so the pose feels balanced from both sides. I like that he does not make it wildly different, because a monster with 2 totally random arm angles can start looking messy. Matching the general direction helps the whole build look planned. At the same time, he still gives it a little bit of its own path, so it does not feel copied block for block. That is a nice middle ground between symmetry and life. The 2 raised arms now frame the heads and make the top half of the wither storm look even wider. Wide upper silhouettes are great for giant mobs because they make them feel more dominant over the land below. I tell Banana the monster now looks like it is trying to grab the whole sky, and he lets out a funny sound like he agrees. It is becoming a really strong dark shape. Near the lower part of the body, Banana adds the smaller lower legs. He makes them shorter and less massive than the upper arms, which is the right choice. If every limb were the same size, the creature would lose that weird layered body shape that makes Witherstorm look special. Smaller lower limbs help keep attention on the heads and upper body, while still making the monster feel more complete. He places them low enough to look like they grow from the lower body and not from the middle chest.
Ta-da! Yay!
Where did everyone run off to? Hey guys, what's that noise you're making?
Banana Kid and I are building Witherstorm on time, JJ. Who did it better?
Oh, both of your buildings look great, but I think it's up to the audience to decide who did the best.
Yes, JJ, you're right. Maybe then you have comments on the construction of Banana Kid?
Yes, there are a couple of comments. You've wasted very little time on the details on the body of Witherstorm.
I totally agree with you, JJ. Maybe then you can build your Witherstorm in 15 minutes?
Okay, then let's run to the place.
JJ, good luck to you. We'll wait in the house.
That's that?
Thanks, guys. Then I'm starting. Round 3. I begin my Witherstorm by constructing the lower body from obsidian. I choose obsidian for a very clear reason. It is one of the darkest and toughest blocks in Minecraft, so it immediately suggests a creature that is ancient, heavy, and nearly indestructible. For the lower section, I do not build a wide base. Instead, I create a tall, narrow funnel shape that rises upward. This is important for the Witherstorm silhouette. The lower body should feel like a hanging core, not like a normal standing monster with hips and feet. I start with a tight bottom point and establish a central vertical line first. A strong center line is useful in any large statue because it helps every later section stay aligned. Once that line is correct, the rest of the body can widen around it without drifting to one side. The narrow lower form already creates a dramatic feeling. It looks less like a person and more like a dark storm creature descending from above. After setting the central axis, I begin widening the funnel gradually with more obsidian. I raise the walls in stepped layers so the body gets broader the higher it goes. This type of taper is very important. If the body became wide too quickly, it would look clumsy and blocky. A gradual increase makes it feel like force is gathering upward into a giant mass. In simple visual physics, wide upper shapes feel heavy and narrow lower shapes feel unstable. That instability is exactly what makes the Witherstorm design so threatening. I keep the sides angled rather than perfectly vertical, because angled walls help the creature look like a vortex of dark material. Obsidian is also very useful here because its texture catches small highlights, so the stepped surface does not become too flat. Even with one main material, the lower body already has visual depth. I check the shape from several directions to make sure the funnel stays centered and dramatic from every angle. Now, I continue lifting the lower body until it becomes a tall, narrow obsidian funnel. I do not make it perfectly smooth because a monster like this should feel rough and broken rather than polished. Small offsets in the block lines create shadow pockets, and shadows are very important on a black build. Without them, dark statues can become hard to read. I also make sure the upper part of this lower body is wide enough to support the heads that will come next. Structural planning matters even in fantasy builds. If the body below is too narrow, the entire top section will feel disconnected and top-heavy in a bad way. If it is too wide, the creature loses that hanging storm-like look. I stop when the funnel feels tall enough to suggest a powerful floating core and broad enough to carry the upper mass. At this point, the lower body has a strong identity. It reads as a descending dark force, not as a normal torso. With the lower form complete, I move to the most important focal point and begin the center head. I build it from obsidian so it stays visually connected to the body, but I immediately leave a wide opening for the mouth. An open mouth gives the head expression and also adds depth to the front. A closed face on such a large monster can feel too blank. For the eye, I use purple concrete. Purple is ideal because it provides a magical, unnatural glow color without needing many blocks. A bright eye on a dark face creates instant contrast and gives the viewer a place to focus. For the teeth, I use quartz blocks. Quartz is extremely effective for teeth because its strong white color reads clearly even against obsidian. I place the teeth so they frame the open mouth rather than filling it too much. Then, I close the rest of the skull around these details with more obsidian. The center head now feels dangerous, readable, and very much alive. I still have a lot of time left. I definitely have to do everything in time. Next, I build the right head. I begin with the neck rather than the face, because the neck determines how the side head connects to the body and how it points into space. A side head needs enough support, or it can look like it is floating. I extend the neck from the upper body in obsidian, keeping it thick near the base and a little narrower near the head. That taper makes the connection feel natural and strong. Once the neck is set, I shape the head using the same design language as the center one. I leave an open mouth, add a purple concrete eye, and install quartz teeth. Repeating the same materials is very important. It tells the viewer that all three heads belong to the same creature. I angle this right head a little outward so the top silhouette becomes wider and more active. Small pose differences like that make a multi-head statue feel more alive than three identical faces lined up in a row. Then, I mirror the idea on the left side and construct the third head. Again, I start with the neck in obsidian, so the support line is clear and the head does not feel detached. I pay close attention to the spacing between the heads. They need enough separation to be read as three distinct faces, but they should still feel tied into one upper body. I build the left skull with the same open mouth shape, the same purple eye, and the same quartz teeth. Repetition is not boring here. Repetition creates identity. A boss creature becomes more convincing when its major features obey the same visual rules. I give this head a slight outward direction too, which balances the right side and frames the center face. Now, the Witherstorm already has its famous three-head look. The dark obsidian skulls, bright purple eyes, and white teeth create a very strong contrast pattern that works well from both close range and far away. At this stage, there are still many hollow spaces inside the necks and behind parts of the heads, so I begin closing those gaps with more obsidian. This is a very important structural step. Hollow statue sections can be useful during planning, but if I leave too many open pockets, the creature will look unfinished from side angles and weak around the connections. I fill the inner parts of the central head first and strengthen the back of its neck so the face feels supported by real mass. On dark builds, thickness matters because it creates the shadows that define the shape. A thin black wall often disappears, while a thick black form creates readable edges. I also make sure not to crush the mouth space while filling around it. The mouth must stay open and deep enough to hold the expression. By the end of this pass, the center section looks much heavier and more stable, exactly what a giant dark monster should look like. After that, I move through the side necks and heads and fill the remaining voids there as well. This work may sound simple, but it has a big design effect. A multi-head creature only feels believable when the necks seem able to carry the skulls. If they remain hollow and paper-thin, the whole statue loses power. I use obsidian to thicken the neck roots where they join the body. That is the area where the visual stress is highest. In real structures, joints need reinforcement. In creature statues, the same idea helps a lot. I also close the backs and lower sides of the side heads so they feel full from every viewpoint. As I do this, the entire upper body becomes more unified. The heads stop feeling like separate attachments and start feeling like parts of one giant organism. The top silhouette becomes broader, heavier, and much more dramatic, which is exactly what the Witherstorm needs. Now, I finish the remaining body gaps and fully complete the main obsidian mass behind and below the heads. I connect the upper shoulders into the central funnel body and add enough material to make the creature feel like one continuous volume. This is where many large statues improve the most. The difference between separate shapes and one connected form is huge. I pay attention to the back line as well because the statue needs depth, not just a strong front view. I let the body swell slightly behind the heads so the upper section looks powerful without becoming a box. At the same time, I preserve the narrow to wide vertical flow from the lower funnel into the upper mass. That flow is the key to the whole design. It tells the eye that the creature grows more dangerous as it rises. With the gaps closed and the body complete, the Witherstorm now has a solid core that can support the extra tentacles without looking overloaded. I've got half the time left. I'm kind of in time. With the main body finished, I begin the tentacles. I start on the right side and build the first one from obsidian. I intentionally keep it shorter and thinner than the main body. That is important because tentacles should act like extra threats, not like giant arms that steal attention from the heads. If I made them too long or too thick, the silhouette would become messy. I attach the tentacle firmly into the side so it feels like it grows from the monster instead of hanging beside it. Then I bend it slightly outward. A small change in direction gives the statue movement. Straight limbs often look stiff, but even one turn can suggest reaching or twisting. Obsidian works well for tentacles too, because the dark material keeps them looking severe and sharp. The first tentacle already changes the feel of the whole build. The creature now looks less like a statue and more like something active and dangerous in the air. Next, I add another tentacle higher up. This upper placement is useful because it increases the vertical spread of the silhouette without widening the whole body too much. Tall monsters benefit from upward details since those details pull the eye along the full height of the build. Again, I keep the tentacle compact and not overly thick. A good monster design needs hierarchy. The heads are the primary focus, the body is the main mass, and the tentacles should support both rather than compete with them. I attach this one carefully so its base looks rooted in the upper obsidian body. Then I curve it a little, not too much. Witherstorm is chaotic, but the build still needs clarity. Too many wild bends would make the outline confusing. This second tentacle helps frame the upper body from another direction and adds more motion to the creature. The statue is becoming more layered and more threatening with each new extension. I continue with a third tentacle above, again using obsidian. I place this one so it complements the earlier tentacles rather than overlapping them too much. Overlap is a major concern in silhouette work. If every extension crosses in front of the others, the form becomes hard to read. I want each tentacle to have its own line in space. This one rises from a slightly different point and angles upward in a controlled way. The goal is to create a cluster of dark extensions that feel alive, but still organized. Even chaotic monsters need readable shapes in Minecraft because the block scale is large. I also keep the thickness consistent with the other tentacles, so none of them looks accidentally more important. The three tentacles together now give the upper body a storm-like energy. They are not huge, but they are enough to make the creature feel as if dark material is constantly reaching outward from its core. Finally, I build the left tentacle. This one balances the earlier right side work and completes the overall outline of the Witherstorm. Balance does not mean perfect symmetry. Instead, it means the creature should feel stable as a composition. One dark extension on the left keeps the silhouette from leaning too heavily to one side. I shape it with the same rules as the others: modest length, narrow thickness, and a slight bend. Because all the tentacles use obsidian, they stay tied visually to the body and heads. Oh no, time flies so fast, I didn't even notice. At this point, the exterior is complete. The tall funnel body, 3 obsidian heads, purple eyes, quartz teeth, and controlled tentacles all work together. The creature looks massive, hostile, and readable from a distance. The outside design now does exactly what it should do. It communicates danger and scale with a small set of materials and a strong silhouette. With the outer shell finished, I create an entrance and start turning the monster into a usable base. I cut a passage into the body and then place the missing obsidian blocks inside to form proper floors. This step is very important because large creature statues often have impressive outsides, but awkward, empty interiors. I do not want that. I add floor levels in a way that respects the narrow lower body and the wider upper section. The lower funnel has less room, so I keep that area simple and mostly vertical for movement. Higher up, where the body broadens, I create more practical living space. Internal planning in a creature build is always a balance between outside shape and inside comfort. If I flatten everything inside too much, I ruin the shell. If I preserve every curve, the rooms become hard to use. By adding careful floor lines and closing awkward holes, I make the interior feel intentional while keeping the exterior monster shape intact. And below, I place a ladder for easy movement between levels. Now, it is time for furniture. I place a bed, a nightstand, and a lamp first, because every hidden base needs a clear sleeping area. Then I add different chests, a crafting table, and furnaces, so the inside becomes practical for survival, not just decorative. I also place anvils with leaves for decoration. The dark anvil shape matches the obsidian mood. while the leaves soften in the room a little. After that, I install bookshelves and an enchanting table. Which fit very well inside a dark magical creature like this. Last minute, I have to hurry. I continue with a brewing stand and a cauldron of water, because a monster base should feel mysterious and useful at the same time. Near the walls, I add armor stands with armor, which make the room feel prepared for danger. On the floor, I lay a carpet to make the space warmer underfoot. The Wither Storm is now both a boss statue and a fully usable obsidian base. Great, my Wither Storm is ready. It's time for me to show it to the guys.
What?
Wow, JJ, you've got such a terrifying wither storm. I really like.
Thank you guys. I am very glad that you liked my building. Friends, be sure to write in the comments whose building you liked the most. Well, I think it's time for us to finish.
Yes, JJ, you're right.
Subscribe and like, bye-bye.